late today. Hello everyone.
Late for our own plans.
Yes, late for our own plans. You didn't know it was a plan, but we did, and we're late. So we're sitting in front of a new painting today. We always sit in front of usually one of my unfinished paintings.
One of Lisa's gorgeous artworks. And we're at my house and we forgot to have the artwork here. So this is actually a painting of my daughter when she was a little tiny baby.
This is Kaya.
Oh, and this is her dad.
Yeah. It's a beautiful painting, so we thought we'd point it out because it's a new one that, you know, we don't usually sit in front of. It was beautiful.
It usually sits in my daughter's room above her bed.
So beautiful. And Spy's nearly 13 now.
She's turning 13 in a couple of weeks.
Very exciting. Okay, so today's topic.
Yes. So today's topic is edges, and edges is a term, actually Lisa coined that term. It's a whole other way of looking at boundaries, because the way that boundaries have been like emphasized and taught and shared with parents in a really mainstream way is often really counterintuitive to how a lot of mothers, including us that we work with, want to relate with our children and want to relate with ourselves as well.
They're like arbitrary lines in the sand, devoid of any context or what's happening in the moment. They're like, this is the rule.
Yeah, and the idea of, well, consistency means that you have to stick to it no matter what, otherwise you'll lose control and
that's right.
You'll
confuse your children if you're not consistent.
And that often doesn't feel good to a lot of mothers we work with, understandably, to us as well. So this is a whole other way of, because it's also really, really important to honour your needs and to bring yourself into parenting. And so many mothers, I can definitely relate to this as well, reject boundaries and then kind of lose themselves and end up getting resentful and like, well, where am I in this? I don't matter. Like, I've just got children who do everything that they want and
this is not
I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually a very, very common journey. Kara and I both took it when our children were little, and most gentle, conscious parenting mamas go through this progression. They start when they're deciding how they want to parent their children and how they want to respond to their children and their children's needs. And they start an exploration of letting go of arbitrary boundaries that are just there because society puts them there type thing. And they start letting go of that and letting go of that. And how much freedom in the moment can I be offering myself and my child, blah, blah, blah. They go through that journey when their kids are first born, when they're babies. And then often, sometime around 3 maybe, when their baby's like 3.
When their children actually start claiming their needs really, really, really loudly and strongly.
Yeah, it's not surprising that this all comes up again. So there's a massive discussion or debate or conflict in the house around everyone's needs and boundaries and how all that's going to look. And that can be really challenging to know, how do I reclaim the healthy aspects that I want to take back, because in the process of that exploration and that journey we threw out pretty much everything, and then how do we reclaim the healthy aspects of that we need? And the answer is edges. And edges are different to boundaries, and you do need edges. So before we get into it, why do we actually need edges? Part of what you do as a conscious, connected parent is you hold the container for the relationship to sit in. That's part of your job, is maintaining the container for the relationship for you and your child. And that container needs to be strong and healthy. The stronger and healthier that feels, the more secure and solid that feels, then all the magic inside it can happen so much more easily. And it's through your edges that you are holding responsibility and maintaining that container.
And also through your edges that you're making sure that that container is like, maybe for want of a better word, but that it's well balanced, that every person in that relationship is taken into account. because it actually affects everyone if one person keeps getting kind of dropped off or isn't taken into account. Like that affects the whole entire dynamic, the whole family.
Absolutely. Even if it's your partner's edges that are always being dismissed or trampled on, which kind of happened for a while in my household when I had really young children and babies. My poor partner just had to, he got the dregs that was left at the end, and there wasn't very much of that, and he gave a lot, you know, and it was kind of like, you'll just have to work it out. Sorry, this is the way it is. And that actually was not, when we went through that period, that was not a good, whole, healthy family dynamic. My poor husband was pretty resentful at the end of it all, because it was a long journey.
Submerged conflict.
Yes, which is another part that we'll talk about today. Oh, I don't know if we'll talk about it today, but it's a part of edges.
A big part, yeah.
Yeah, submerged conflict. So you're not overtly talking about it, but you kind of got a little Cold War happening. Okay, so edges. An edge is different to a boundary in that an edge is...
It's present moment.
It's present moment, yes.
So it's not like you sit back like in the meeting with your partner while your kids are asleep and you're like, how do we get them to do this thing differently? Okay, so every night they have to go to bed at 7. That's the edge. That's not an edge, that's a boundary.
It's a boundary. You can claim that boundary. Like, we're not telling you don't claim that boundary, but it's not an edge. An edge is what is authentically real for you in the moment. And your edge is different depending on what's going on inside you at any given time. Your consistency, because consistency is a big thing for boundaries, comes in the way that you show up.
You're consistently connected to what's really moving inside you, which is something we have been sharing on so many videos.
Yeah.
That you need to tune into what is going on for you to claim an edge.
And you're consistent in communicating what's going on for you. And you're consistent in willing to look for ways to meet everyone's needs. You're still going to be consistent about things, but you're not going to be consistent about arbitrary stuff. If today you've got a ton of energy, you slept really well, your edge will look different to the other day when you got no sleep at all and the baby teethed all night and you nursed 15 times, whatever it is. That's a completely different situation, and what you can and can't do the next day, what you can and can't say yes to, will look different as a result. And so your edge is what we call this. This is your edge. It's important to start to explore. When Kaya and I dive into this with people, we were just saying today, wow, we could do a whole 12 weeks on this. Like, we could teach forever on this topic, and we don't want to make it too long a live. So for today, I want you to understand this idea of communicating authentically in the moment, and we'll give you some ideas on how to do that, and explore where your edge is. And then once you know, we'll talk to you how to do that in a really basic way. We're not going to give you the huge, big teaching piece because it's a big topic, as you can imagine, but we'll give you enough to get you started today. Once you know where your edge is, you have a couple choices. You can choose to honor your edge, okay? And that might sound like, I hear that you really want that, but today I can't do X, Y, Z, but I am willing to do A, B, C. Yeah? I'm going to hold this. I can't stretch that far. And you need to that's called honoring your edge. The other thing that you can do is you can work outside your edge consciously. So often there's a big period of time in our lives where we're working way outside our edge unconsciously. We don't really know where our edge is, but we're like, oh, this feels freaking huge, I know. But this is what you're meant to do. As a gentle, conscious mother, this is what I'm meant to do.
And that might mean then that a stepping stone aspect of really like diving into this work of edges is to often consciously work outside your edge. If it feels really edgy to claim your edge, then realize you're making that choice and getting to know where your edge is. But if it still feels like I'm not really comfortable right now to claim this edge, the awareness that I'm working outside of it consciously is a really big part of it.
Is massive. Yeah. So when you have consciously said, wow, this feels big to me, but I really want to stretch into this, my child's so keen on this idea, or I really want to make this happen for them, or whatever it is, know that you're choosing to consciously work outside your edge. You do have a whole protocol for that. Again, come hang out with us in the future and we'll give you that. It's too much for a live today. But you can work outside your edge, and the big piece is just knowing I am choosing to stretch here. I'm aware I'm a little out of what I'm feeling like I can cope with right now, but I'm choosing to do this. And that is often a huge enough mindset shift to get you through, to give yourself a bit of patience and understanding when you're like, oh, this was big, what was I thinking? So you can honour your edge, or you can work outside your edge.
And there's a whole gradient with that. It's not like really you're completely honouring your edge, you're completely working outside of it. You can edge, like slightly in any direction.
Yeah, and Karen and I were talking about this before we got on, actually. There are even some times when, because an edge is present moment, there might be a situation where you're like, wow, I'm going to choose to consciously work outside my edge because the kids really, really want to do this and it feels kind of big. And you're right, okay. And then you go ahead with it and you're moving along and you're struggling. You're like, oh no, I don't think I can do this. There might be time to renegotiate your edge. And it's okay to say to your kids, I really wanted to be able to do this. I really wanted to make this happen. I'm really struggling. Can we look at some different solutions? Let's brainstorm how I could cope with this better, or we could shift it so it would work, or whatever. So you can absolutely renegotiate. So this is very sort of grey. We're teaching it like chunks so that you can get the concept in your head, but it's a bit of a sliding continuum. The piece here is to be very clear yourself on where your edge is and be communicating that clearly whichever way you're choosing to go. And one thing that happens, here's what happens when you don't have a clue about your edge. If you are too far outside of your edge, like way past what you feel like you can cope with in the moment, or you sit out there all the time, way out there past your edge, kind of flying by the seat of your pants all the time, then you are going to struggle to feel connected, self-connected and connected outwards with your children. You're going to struggle to feel grounded and anchored. And one of the byproducts is that we've done it, is that seesaw between, I'm a really loving mum and we can do anything, to, I can't cope, everyone needs to back off.
And all that submerged conflict coming out of like, I'm so resentful for you, this is all your fault. Because it will feel like it when you're continually outside your edge.
Yeah. So if you're experiencing that, then this is really important for you to have a look at where your edges are and what you're feeling. Hey, thumbs up, people like that. Yay. So the edges piece is important for you to have a look at. So you're so the way, we'll give you a mini, how do I know where my edge is in the moment? Because that can sometimes be, I remember when we first talked about that was hard for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, very hard for me. Because I really quickly, my mind would come in and be like, oh, but you can stretch. You can do it. Your children need it.
Yeah. Yeah, which we've done. We've all done that. Absolutely. And you'll get it wrong. I guarantee you that I often make decisions. Like, okay, let's do it. And then I'm like, oh, bugger, I don't think I could do this now. So you're always going to, that's why communication, we actually first taught this whole piece in conscious communication and conflict resolution. Like that's the sphere that this was originally sitting in.
It's one whole class in our Riding the Turbulent River course.
It's a whole week.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yes, how to track your edge. Let's give you how to track your edge, a baby one, so that you can get it on this live. So, when your child comes to you and asking you to make a decision, can we do this today? Whatever it is, can we go to the park? Whatever. Tune into yourself, close your eyes, just take a breath. So first thing, just ask your child, okay, let me think about that for a moment. I need to sit with it.
Some space.
I need to sit with that for just a moment. My kids totally know that's the sign for, oh wow, she's really considering it. Okay, everyone back off. So Okay, just give me a moment to sit with that. I just need to think for a second. And tune in. And then imagine that your edge, what you can cope with, where you feel comfortable in your current state, right now in the present moment, while you're making the decision, is a ring around you. Okay? Now, how far out from your body is that ring? The further out it is, you're feeling pretty topped up, pretty expansive. I've kind of got this. I could be pretty flexible. Could go with it. Or, wow, my ring is really close. My energy is pretty closed down, and I'm not willing to extend very far at all. Yeah? So where is your ring? Where's your, currently, that's where your edge is. Now, imagine a second ring. And your second ring out is the request that your children have made of you. So it's there. Like, how far outside of where your edge is their request in your mind? Like, how does it feel? Does it feel way out there or just a little out there? The gap in between those two rings then is area of negotiation. Are you going to work outside your edge? You're going to go all the way to meet them, or are you going to ask for some middle ground, like a condition that you could put on it? I could probably do that for 40 minutes. You know, like, what's the condition in there that allows you to sort of work with that if you're going to work outside of your edge?
Or we could do that if this and this and this is in place.
Exactly. Or what if you're going to honour your edge, like, I really can't go there. How could I bring this gap closer? Like, oh, okay, I don't feel like right now today I can do that, but could I offer you this, this and this? Like, what could we do that would bring them closer to where your edge is?
And this is all very much about needs.
Yep.
It's about what are your needs, what are your children's needs in this, and getting creative, because there are so many ways to support everyone in their needs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so there are a whole list of recommendations we have for working outside your edge, honouring your edge, reconnecting after you've honoured an edge, etc., etc., etc. But we're not going to go into them today. If you want to know, then right underneath, I love this topic, talk more about it, and we will.
Yeah, we could send you the poster that is in there, Riding the Turbulent River.
We could send you the full poster with it all in there.
All the posters are on Lisa's beautiful artwork. They are so gorgeous.
Hey, yeah, we had a lot of fun making that course years ago.
Yeah, but the thing that we want you to take out from this little live is to start tuning in any of those moments to where those rings are for you. Where is your edge in that moment? Where do you feel that ring? And how far out is the request that your child is making? And then just remembering that you have choices. You can choose to work outside your edge, and if you do, how far outside are you wanting to go? And then just the collaborative problem solving comes into place. Or are you choosing to honour your edge? And then how else can you support your children in that? And a big part of that is how else can you meet those needs. Another part of that is, which is what Lisa just mentioned, reconnecting after honouring edge. How can you hold space for your child in whatever's going on for them?
They might be disappointed. They're probably disappointed. There might be some big emotion. How do you work through that? Yeah, how do you create that connection? Yeah. Do you want to, we're going to add one little tiny bit on the end because we had a specific question about edges and Kaya really wanted to bring it up.
We did. Me too. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So someone who had heard us talking about edges asked, so what do I do if I haven't really honoured edges at all for a very, very long time? Which is like what we mentioned. If you've been way out past your edge for ages and ages, and now you're wanting to
reclaim them a bit,
you're wanting to come into more harmony with all of this, but it just feels like a really big mountain to climb because your children aren't used to it and you're not used to it, and they're so used to you stretching all the time. And wow, there's many things we could bring up around that. But one thing that I really want to talk about is being comfortable with your own emotions and your children's emotions. Because so often, gentle mothers, everybody's, but especially our children's, because we so want to be there for them and we so want to meet their needs, we often try to do so much to kind of fulfill them that we end up avoiding their experience of emotions, their expressions of emotions, and we get the wires crossed between like actually meeting their needs and being there for them, and like saying yes to every command kind of thing. And it's actually,
I was going to say, and the fear so many gentle mothers have of conflict.
Oh yes, fear of conflict, totally.
Huge one.
And it actually meets so many needs to just be with a child in an emotion and hold them in love in that emotion. Like, I've got this, I can hold it. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. And it's also okay for me to say no to this. And it doesn't mean I love you any less. It doesn't mean that we're not like cooperating any less. Like, it doesn't mean that you're now going to just start saying no to everything and just holding space all the time and letting them tantrum all the time. Like, an edge is authentically, like, there's plenty of times when you're going to want to say yes.
Huge, yeah. But
in the times when it feels really true for you to say no, it's okay to be there. It's okay to be there with them while they just cry. It's actually, I remember when I was pregnant with my son, I decided I wanted to stop breastfeeding my daughter at night time, and it was kind of scary. And this was an edge that just felt so true for me, that I just started holding her, and I held her with so much love, like, I love you so much, and I had like a big shirt on wrapped around me because she was trying to get at my breasts, and I just held her with this mantra of, I love you so much. And I held her actually probably for a few nights with her crying for a while. And it was a beautiful experience, and it was a healing experience for us. Like, before then it might have been like, oh no, I've just got to keep breastfeeding her because that's what she needs, that's what she wants. But that was so true for me. And doing that with her actually kind of, it was a deeper bond. It was, oh, we can be with each other. I'm not leaving her in any way. We can be with each other through any emotion, through anything. Like, it's healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your edge is your edge. It's very personal to you, and it's very in the moment.
Yeah, it's not what someone else's edge is.
No. So anything else you want to add about reclaiming edges when you've lost them for so long? At some point, because your edge is your real in the moment edge, you just start where you start. You really just have to...
You need to get more and more familiar with the whole dance of it, because it is a dance. It's like, oh, I didn't cope with working outside of my edge that time very well.
There'll be heaps of times when that happens. Yeah. You go, oh, I did that. I have, I don't think I'm alone in this. I have a tendency to think I can stretch way more than I can stretch. I'll make that work, and then be in it and go.
And not beating yourself up. It's like, oh, this is an art form. I'm just learning.
Absolutely. How far can I really go outside my edge? And that changes day to day too. Remember, your edge is very fluid to in the moment. This is about helping your children to recognize and understand, and you, your personal boundary in that moment, like where you can really go to. And that the longer term picture is the health of the whole relationship. If you're always stretched way past your edges, and you're seesawing, and you're having outbursts, and then apologizing, and you're all over the place, that's not a really strong sacred container that you're really holding for the whole health of the relationship. So remember that you're doing this for the health of the whole relationship, and your children will come to see that too.
Oh, totally, they will, and they'll get to know that you're like that. It's a really genuine intention of yours to care about them and you, like that you're actually taking everyone into account in this process. Yeah.
And they will come to understand, like Mum always says yes wherever she can. They will get that totally. They'll be like, yeah, if she could do it, she would do it. They'll know that, they will, as the process unwinds, because they'll see it happening all the time. They'll also see you stretch and go, especially if you're really transparent in your communication, like, this feels big to me, but I can see how much you want it, so I'm going to try. Yeah, let's give it a go. And then, well, I'm really struggling with this. This is really hard. Like, they'll see all of that and they'll come to know, okay, well, if mum can say yes, she's going to say yes to us. That's what she does. So they learn to hear when you say, I really can't do it right now. They might be a bit disappointed at first. Like, oh. But then they'll be like, okay, if she really could, she would. And then they will probably offer a negotiation. They'll probably offer...
They'll become more and more a part of
the solution, like bringing you into it.
The creativity of the solution.
Yeah. So they might say, okay, we hear that. Do you think maybe we could give it a go tomorrow? Or, you know, or maybe we could do it on Saturday when Dad's around. Or, like, they might throw something back as well. So it's a two-way street. I think the very first piece is when you're trying to reclaim them and you've lost them for quite a while, part of it is just exploring for yourself where your edge is. Where's that ring now? Where's their request? How far out am I? Sometimes your edge is like really here. I'm not willing to extend in any direction. Sometimes it's like, sure, we can give it a go. I'm feeling really like flexible and alternative today. So just start tuning in. Where's your edge today? That's the first really good piece. And start communicating it. Wow, that feels big to me. No, that feels really doable to me. Like, start playing with it and feeling into it.
And remembering that you have a choice.
Always. Be in a place of choice. Just the conscious decision, I'm choosing to work outside my edge, will have you show up so differently in the situation. Be so much more patient with yourself and so much more conscious in the moment of how you're communicating. Yeah. Okay, so if you know, it's a big topic, and it's for some mothers, it's like we say little snippets like this and people go, oh my God, tell me more, I didn't hear this bit, that bit. If you want more, please ask and we'll do some teaching on it.
We actually, you won't hear about it yet because it's not quite live, but we have a something coming up, a program that we could potentially put a whole section on with edges, so you'll hear more about that soon.
Yes. There's a teaser. Okay. But in the meantime, the last thing we want to say today is tomorrow. I'm going to be really transparent here. I'm nervous. Are you nervous yet?
Typically, Lisa gets nervous beforehand. I get nervous in the middle of it, so I'm not yet.
She's not yet. I'm kind of freaking out. Tomorrow is our workshop that we're giving, that we're putting on, and hundreds of women have signed up for it, which is yay, because we so want to share this information, but I'm just a bit nervous about speaking in front of that many people.
And we would love more, so come.
Come. Let's tell you about the workshop. It's free. It's a free gifted workshop. It's a workshop we've done in private settings a few times, and it's had such powerful, amazing feedback. The women have all said, holy crap, this was amazing, that we wanted to give it wider.
Reclaim yourself in motherhood and parent from your truth. Yeah, the sun just got really bright.
I know, we're like bleached out. Yes, reclaim yourself in parenthood and parent in motherhood.
And parent
from your
truth.
Own truth, yeah.
Yes, and we will put a link in the description and in the comments.
Yeah.
So we'll see you there. And there is a replay. Everyone keeps asking us.
There's a replay.
For a certain
little
time.
while. A few days there'll be a replay. It's all interactive. It's all experiential. You can ask us any questions that you want. We're going to give you some major keys on how to totally shift your mindset around your experience of motherhood.
How to bring yourself and your children in a really
holistic way. How do you
way.
balance all of that together? How do you come back to all of that? And it will totally reorientate you into where your real power as a mother is. And it's not outside of yourself. Okay, so if you want to come, the link will be here with this live. But this is virtually your last chance. Yeah, this is the last live before then. Yeah. This is the last time you're going to hear us say, come to our workshop. We want to be with you. Okay, I think that's it.
See ya.
Bye.